It's a big call, but today I'm going to talk to you about the number one skill for the professional corporate trainer and learning facilitator. My name is Simon Tyson. I'm the CEO of the Real Learning Experience. Now, hopefully your mind's racing, asking yourself, what is the number one skill of a great corporate trainer? Is it listening? Is it building rapport? Is it contextualizing learning? Is it connecting and really relating to the participants in the room? All of those things are certainly in the grand final, but in my view, they're not the number one skill. My belief is that, without doubt, the critical skill for a great learning facilitator is the ability to ask excellent questions. Now, people say to me, can it really be that simple? And my answer is absolutely yes. A learning facilitator who asks great questions forces participants to become active in the learning process. Rather than sitting passively listening to information, they have to engage actively in their own learning. When you tell people something, it's a cheap throwaway. They can take it, they can leave it. When you ask people something, they have to work for it. They value it more. When you tell someone something, it rattles around in there a bit, and some of it may stick, possibly. When you ask them a question, it's sticking as they're working through the process. So asking questions increases the stickability of learning considerably. So what sort of questions do you need to ask? Well, I don't buy into the concept that you should be asking only open questions. Those big, open-ended questions that get people to think and talk and engage and so on. In my view, any question is good if it asks a person to stop, think, process, even confront themselves about what they're currently doing and what they're currently thinking. So in my view, I don't care whether it's an open question or a closed question. What I care about is what it asks the participant to do in the learning process. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and in the first one, I'm going to talk about the use of open questions. When a participant in your course raises a workplace issue they're having, you've got a choice about how you respond to that. You can either give them the answer, or you can facilitate the collective knowledge of all the people within the room. The difference is between making a statement and asking a question. The statement approach is simply, thanks for asking the question, Mr. or Mrs. Participant. This is how I suggest, based upon my expertise and my knowledge, which is why I'm here after all, this is how I suggest you deal with that circumstance that you've just raised. It's quick, it's efficient, but it's highly ineffective. The question approach is very different. Thanks for asking the question, Mr. or Mrs. Participant. How did you handle it when it happened? How did that work out? What do you think you might do differently next time? Who else in the room has encountered the circumstance, the situation, the issue, the problem that this person raised? What did you try? What worked? What didn't work? What does the group think would be an effective approach next time? And, critically, let's arrive at some conclusions. Make a few notes about the sorts of strategies that you've decided to adopt as a result of this discussion. The question approach is not quick, it's not as time efficient, but it is highly effective in creating learning outcomes. If your goal is to create learning and change behaviour in a positive way, then the question approach is the only real option. Of course, as the facilitator, you may conclude the discussion by recapping some key points and even emphasising a couple that the group may not have covered for themselves. Rather than being the font of all knowledge, what you're really doing is making sure you fill in the gaps that you haven't facilitated the group to cover themselves. In my view, the difference in these approaches is at the heart of being a great learning facilitator. Are you there to provide information? They may as well read a book or research on the internet. Or are you there to facilitate learning? Are you there as some sort of overall expert, some training room Yoda who knows everything and will share that knowledge? Or are you there as the hub of the group, pulling learning from wherever it exists within that room? I want to give you a simple second example to show you how a closed question can be equally as effective. This is much shorter, but no less important in the learning process. When someone tells you, perhaps in that previous discussion, that a certain behaviour, a certain approach is really critical to their success, it's completely valid for you as the facilitator to ask a closed question like, do you do that enough? That one question may get them to stop. It may cause them to reflect on the way they're currently operating, on their current approach, and make some decisions about what they'll do differently in the future. Regardless of whether you're asking open or closed questions, and of course, as a quality facilitator, you need to be able to master both. Questions will help participants challenge themselves. It will cause them to reflect, and it will cause them to be active participants, not passive listeners. All the best in your training career. Please go ahead and download the information packs about becoming a licensed or franchise partner with the Real Learning Experience. If you've got a passion for what we do, we'd love to talk with you.